international level. The governor went outside the country and he mentioned this. There is not part of the government policy of the state to conduct any dialogue. The dialogue is what is called sasanci and what I call shashanci, sakarci, ballagazanci, banna, and waste of time and resources. So when the governors cannot even sit together, in many instances, we have conducted a research on the number of meetings conducted by northern governors on security. And we realized that out of every 10 meetings, in every 6 or 7, more than 90% of the governors send representation of the deputy governors who cannot decide on their behalf. So how do we expect us to move forward? And like it has been mentioned, any governor who comes as a first timer in office, what he is after is what are the systematic strategies that will lead him to have the second term tenure, not productivity of the state. Negligence. Negligence have played a great role in terms of as a nexus in relation to what we are discussing. Because I have said it day before yesterday, I have said it yesterday, and I'm going to repeat myself here. And I want anybody to take it anywhere. There is no kingpin of any criminality in northern Nigeria that I don't know. There is no kingpin in any part of northern Nigeria that I don't know where he is. I have said it 13 years back, and it was justified by the governors of Zamfara and Sokoto and Katsina State recently. We know the criminals. When you talk of Boko Haram, we know the kingpins, we know where they are. When you talk of kidnappers, bandits, whosoever, we know who they are, we know where they are. If you don't know who they are and where they are, how do you brought them together in the name of Shashanchi? Coming to a scene of Shashanchi, fully armed, using military uniform, and intimidating the states. When I say the state, I'm not referring to Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, intimidating the Nigerian state against the sovereignty of Nigerian state. They were talking, and everybody knows who they are. Recently, I have told an intelligence team in a meeting recently in Abuja that go and look at all Shashanchi sessions that was conducted. Use your cursor carefully, move the cursor gently on any of the clips. You will realize that it is the same category that were in Bazari, are the same people you find in Paskari, are the same in Bakori, are the same in Malimpashi. Everywhere you go, they are the same faces. So why are you wasting your time and deceiving yourself? If you say you don't know where they are, Geto says you know who they are and where they are. What are you wasting your time for? If you are serious and honest, I really want to deal with them. Come and hold Geto responsible. I'm ready to take the responsibility. But because of lack of sincerity and negligence, this word negligence, I have done a profiling of criminals in northwestern Nigeria by polling unit, by political ward, by local government constituency, by state assembly constituency, by national assembly constituency, and by senatorial constituency. I have submitted this to 8th assembly, I have submitted it to 9th assembly, and even to the recent seat bonus, the 10th assembly, who don't understand the left and right as far as the security issues is concerned in the country. They neglected their responsibility. They are focusing on doing what will not take the country to the promised land. Sabotage. There are a lot of communication, language, body language, written language, policy language, and so on and so forth, that our leaders are really sabotaging the efforts simply because there is alliance between the elite, alliance and hypocrisy between the elite and the security managers in the country. As far as this alliance and hypocrisy remain, then the elites will continue to move to Abuja, Kaduna, and other cities, while the masses are suffering from what have started in the remotest corner. In the year 2001, here in Kebbi, I reported presence of AK-47 from Shanga, from Mayama, from Aleru, from Ngaski, from Yauri, and also from Sakaba. If the Nigerian police could go to their archive, I'm sure they will find my document that I made the submission. In the year 2006, I made the same submission in Sokoto. The Commissioner of Police in that year, if they can still go back to their archive, the document, my submission is there. I have seen the presence of AK-47 in an illegal hands in Raba, in Sabambuni, in Isa, in Goreno, and Wurno. And I have outlined my submission with printed pictures of those who possessed those arms then. But nothing was done. So it continued to move. It started somewhere in Mapuku. It started somewhere in Geso. I'm not referring to Geso of Kano State. There are 3 Geso in Nigeria. One in Kano, one in Zamfara, one in Kebbi. So I'm referring to Geso of Kebbi in an attempt during a research to assassinate me then in the year 2006 between Mokuku and Geso. I was ambushed and I was lucky to still be alive. And simply because of those research, I went and I snapshot, unlucky or not to be that they understood I was using camera. So on my way back, I was lucky to escape their ambush. And all this, I have made reference, not only talking with evidence, with facts. All the statement I'm making, I'm just saying it with facts. Compromise. I'm sorry, there are a lot to discuss in respect to sabotage. Issues related to inability of the military and paramilitary to hold their personnel accountable for the responsibilities given. We observe with dismay, even though we may not have evidence, that some of the personnel are even paying price. Okay. For them to be posted to Zamfara, to Katsina, to Borno, to Yobe, despite the menace. Why? There are so many unanswered questions which I have no time to discuss. It will be for discussion for other time. Compromise. When you start from Zaria to Sokoto, you will see compromises between the military and paramilitary, whereby they are pricing the value of type of vehicle, commercial vehicle, and some private vehicles. They will price you 500, 200. If you cannot pay that price, you have to park for an hour or 2 hours or more. At the same time, there are a lot of allegations against officers and men of the Nigerian Army and Nigerian military, both Army, Air Force, and Navy, inclusive of the DSS, the police, and all the security strata that you have on corruption, corrupt practices, compromises. Why do we have to be slaves in our own home? For how long am I going to be afraid of sleeping in my own village? Lakurawa are really advancing into Kebbi State. Kebbi State need to sit up to its responsibility. Lakurawa and other criminals, I have made mention 3 weeks ago that there are other type of criminality that will emerge if care is not taken in the next 4 to 6 months. I'm not praying for that, but I know with negligence, sabotage, compromise, refusal, and lack of policy to fight it, and so on and so forth, definitely we may find ourselves there. Management. Security management in Nigeria became a paperwork. Of course, we must commend our security personnel. They are doing their best, but their best has never been enough. We know there are a lot of issues, ranging from training, capacity, equipment, logistics, and other things. But however, Like it has been mentioned by my colleague, Malan Samuel Aron, it is really difficult managing security in Nigeria. If somebody committed an offense as a personnel, will be posted to Borno from Kebbi. If it is in Borno, will be posted out to Kebbi rather than punishing. Our judiciary is in mess. Until and unless we are ready to fix our judiciary and to hold ourselves responsible and accountable for certain circumstances and situations and issues, then we'll be able to deal with the situation accordingly. Yes, of course, what we have as issues in the security in the region, in the northern region, is ideology and criminality. It's different approach, but we are using almost the same approach in managing the ideological crimes and the criminality itself. Because the Boko Haram, the Ansaru, the Mahmuda, the Lakurawa, in some extent, they are ideology. The kidnappers, the bandits, and the rest, they are criminals. Distribution of arms, there are armed distributors, armed importers, armed traders, and armed movers. Most of our security agencies don't understand and refuse intentionally to accept. Whereas we are working hard to share intelligence that Nigeria and northern Nigeria and northern governments refused to take those intelligence and deal with them accordingly. And thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Ahmed Yahuza Gezo. Please, another big round of applause for him. I understand that Ambassador Osman Sarki in Switzerland is now online, so we will give him an opportunity to make his presentation. Ambassador, you are welcome, and please go ahead and make your presentation.
It is an existential issue that we are discussing in terms of security in our country, not only in northern Nigeria, but the entire Nigerian state. And today, the danger in which we are in actually has been clearly accentuated and emphasized by the interference in the internal affairs of Nigeria by the president of the most powerful country in the world, in which or participating ingredients amounting to genocide of one section of the country. For nearly 20 years, and because of the internal situation of the country, we are able to manage our security situation. Today, unfortunately, Nigeria has become epicenter of terrorism, epicenter of banditry, epicenter of insecurity, and epicenter of export insecurity to neighboring countries. We have seen how the Boko Haram insurgency proliferated and became externalized to involve our neighboring countries, particularly Chad, Cameroon, and Niger. And today we have seen how and terrorism moved to eastern part of the country to engulf countries like Benin. So it is the duty of Nigeria does not continue to be gravity here my talk is to discuss challenge of region and challenges of regional cooperation in the fight against insurgency. Well, in the Nigerian context, non-state actors are quite visible and they are well known. They are actually terrorist groups like Boko Haram, armed groups and bandits like Arewa and others, and also in the southern part of the country, they constitute or take the shape of the Niger Delta Avengers, IPOB, Eastern Security Network, and others. So it's quite understandable that for us, non-state actors pose an existential threat to Nigeria wherever they are allowed to operate. Now, in terms of categorization, I would like to say there are three or four categories. First of all, we have the violent like Boko Haram, Islam, that are or taking arms against them. The second type are criminal gangs that are terrorizing community, kidnapping people for cattle rustling, arms, and other illicit transactions. The third type of area are ethnic militia gangs actually forming themselves into armed militia, pursuing separatist, regional, or ethnic agendas. The other type of non-state actors in Nigeria are community defense or vigilante groups, including the Civilian Joint Task Force in the northeast, the Amotekun in the southwest, and also other similar groups that are operating in the country. Now, these non-state actors have metamorphosed and transformed into terrorist and insurgency movements that are actually threatening the very existence of our country. I have explored in my paper the origin of these non-state actors and the grievances which they espouse as their causes. I have looked at the militarization and criminalization of such groups. I have looked at actually the ideological radicalization and external linkages of these groups, and I have looked at the territorial control of these insurgency groups. All these are expounded in a fairly detailed manner in my paper. I have also looked at the main motive forces behind their transformation and configuration armed groups that are posing serious threats to the Nigerian state and its people. I looked at their category, motive forces, examples, and explanations. And here I delve into the different types of non-state actors operating in Nigeria, particularly in the north, their characteristics, typologies, ideologies, motive forces, and the springboard upon which they operate to constitute or to become such formidable forces in our country. In my paper, I looked at government responses and capacity constraints, and I've heard the earlier speaker speaking about the constraint of justice delivery, corruption, the pollution of security forces, the incapacity of state, and others. So there are various opinions actually driving our own narrative about non-state actors and the responses and capacity of the Nigerian state to deal with security in Nigeria. I looked at the United States of America, I looked at the European Union, I looked at France and the UK, I looked at Turkey or Turkey, I looked at Russia and the UAE and Qatar as examples of external actors that are either assisting the Nigerian state and government to overcome its internal challenges or actually vicariously or unknowingly through their activities causing about the aggravation of the situation in our country. I looked at the geographical distribution and cross-border nexus of non-state actors. Nigeria's internal hotspots are in the northeast, the northwest, north central, southeast, and south-south. Mainly, I explained in detail about the characterizations of each challenge or threat confronting the different regions or zones in Nigeria. I also looked at the neighboring countries where in Niger, in the Tufa region, in Chad, in Baga, Sola, Bol, and Jamena, in Cameroon, in the far north, in Waza, Meganga, and Tibati, and also in Libya and Mali, where the threats emanating from these places are impacting on the security situation in Nigeria. I also looked at the regionalization of the Nigerian insurgency. How regional are they? How geographic are they? Where are they located? Where are their swing votes? And what are actually the impelling or compelling motive forces for such actions to take place? So I looked at geographic porosity, or the porosity of our borders. I looked at economic networks of smuggling, trade in small arms, cross-border taxation that sustain insurgency in Nigeria. I examined the ideological linkages, that is the global jihadist movement, the jihadist movement in the Lake Chad Basin, in the Sahel region, and others, and what are the nexus or connections between them. I looked at the impact of refugee flows and humanitarian crises emanating from the activities of non-state actors. I also examined the frameworks for regional cooperation in order to tackle the challenge of non-state actors. And such regional cooperations or frameworks that are existing today are in the Multinational Joint Task Force of the Lake Chad Basin, or MNJTF. I looked at OAS security architecture. I looked at the bilateral and multilateral partnerships in which Nigeria is engaged with Chad, with Cameroon, with Niger, and also cooperation with other countries like France and UK and the United Nations and the European Union. I looked at the G5 Sahel framework and others that could form the platform on which regional cooperation can take place. I also examined the challenges to regional cooperation. What is making regional cooperation difficult in extending the framework cooperation to tackle insurgency and non-state actors? I outlined quite a number of issues under this challenges subsection: divergent national interests and views, sovereignty sensitivities, funding and logistics challenges and difficulties, coordination and command structure issues, weak intelligence integration, socio-economic neglect, human rights violations and concerns, and others. Now, I've spoken of external or external partners. Here it is very critical for us to know who are the external partners that we can rely on to assist us in overcoming these challenges. In this area, I looked at the African Union, European Union, the United Nations, and bilateral partners that could help us in actually gathering the resources required to defeat insurgents and non-state actors in our country. The role of subnational governments in tackling insecurity is part 2 of my paper. And I think the idea that this conference is taking place in Kebbi, in Birnin Kebbi, the state, gives some weight and some authority to the role of subnational governments in tackling insecurity in Nigeria. I propounded a number of premises, quite detailed premises, in terms of what subnational entities or governments could do in assisting the federal government or the national government to overcome the current challenges happening in the country. I look at the legal and institutional basis on which subnational governments can actually tackle insecurity. I looked at the key roles of subnational governments in issues like early warning and community intelligence, community policing and local security frameworks, countering violent extremism and de-radicalization. I looked at youth empowerment, economic inclusion. I looked at governance, justice, and service delivery. I looked at humanitarian and social stabilization.
Ambassador, can you hear me? Okay. Ambassador, thank you. We are running out of time. We will look forward to receiving your paper and reading it. And I want to thank you most sincerely for sparing time to be with us. Please give him a big round of applause. Thank you so very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you. All right, last but not least is Brigadier General retired Sani Kuka Sheka Usman. I think he needs no introduction. When you talk about communication and countering terrorist propaganda, we all know his record, a highly decorated officer. And it's my pleasure to invite you now to make your contribution. Thank you very much. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. The keynote speaker, our highly respected chairman of Kebbi State Elders Forum, our moderator, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Actually, I find it very difficult to say anything simply because all that need to be said has been said to a large extent. And also, who am I to speak when the keynote speaker has spoken? And when he obtained his PhD, I was just in secondary school. And when he was a lieutenant general, I was just a lieutenant colonel. And then you have Professor Pate and Professor Jega, who taught me that for me to come and speak after them is something else. But given the fact that we are discussing security, and I take into cognizance what the chairman of the occasion has said about security, and being a very critical and important aspect of human endeavor. So much as the theme is apt, but I think it can be so elastic to encompass so many things. First and foremost, why are we here? What brought Zamfara, Katsina, and indeed northwestern Nigeria to the kind of sorry situation we found ourselves? But then we cannot divorce it from certain fundamental things. I've taken notes, and in no particular order. And I'm so happy that even Professor Jega made reference to the fact about policing system and state police. I think to a large extent, we are missing the link and the most fundamental aspect of it. Our policing system is faulty, and we have had instances of policy somersault, and we have been consistently inconsistent with policing system. I've had the privilege of traveling across the world. I've come across countries without armed forces, but there is no country without police. And I stand to be corrected. I've been to the Vatican, they still have police. But what do we have? If I ask any one of you who is supposed to be securing you, you don't even know. But under normal circumstances, we are supposed to be under a divisional police command. But what policing system do we have? First, we talk about community policing, 2013, then eventually we have the legal framework. So, or the policing system. We have the police ministry, we have the lawyer edits house, we have the police service commission, we have the police council. The police council, within the last 26 years, I can rest assure you, even though a constitutional provision has not sat up to 5 times within the last 26 years. These are the issues. So we look at it also. Then we talked about issue of leadership recruitment system, which fall into governance, and we have talked extensively about governance. And it may interest you to know all these non-state actors, call it Arewa, Boko Haram, bandit, kidnappers, militants, they are basically filling in a vacuum. Pick it anywhere. I've seen it with the FARC in Colombia, I've seen it with Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and I've seen it with what's the name of these people in Lebanon? Hezbollah. Basically, they are just filling a vacuum that is missing. And what do I mean? Now, let's look at it. We have 3 tiers of government. The federal, state, and local government. We know the third tier of the government is not working. They only exist in issuing what? Indigenship. Now, all the security challenges we have, you can put them, for the fact that they came from a particular community, particular local government, particular district. So whereby those institutions are not standing, where do we go? And we have bulge of youth, or rather youth bulge. 67% of the total population, they are youth. And in the north, it's even more worrisome. Now, how do we constructively engage them? People cannot aspire to do or to become anything. And that is why these non-state actors are filling in the vacuum. If you are not well, where do you go to? In fact, you need counseling, where do you go to? Our educational system. So, these are the issues that we have to critically look at. Now, coming to the media. So much has been talked about, the media. But so much as we recognize that indeed there is a nexus between national security or security generally with the media system. First, we do not even have a media system in the country, in the sense that, for those of you that are mass communication experts, you know the Canada and Frankfurt and all the rest. But what is the media system in this country? None. And basically, when you look at the history, even way back to Iwe Elohim, is more or less antagonistic. So most of the stories, with due respect to those media executives, the context of the stories are always missing. And as such, they are stereotyping and all the rest of the thing. And that is why sometimes when there are stories, and I've had instances to ask some people about localizing story, about being accurate, and the fact being responsible. Because sometimes they do say, if there is an attack, God forbid, in, let's say, Zamfara State, or let's say Kebbi State, which is mixed, they will go out of their ways to say, or even, let's say, Borno, that a certain number of religion adherents were killed. Automatically, it will inflate pensions and all the rest. Then, I would like to commend the organizers because they are trying to do something very fantastic, because they realize that part of the issues that I've raised earlier on about media ownership and issue of professionalism, we have seen some of them coming up, and I think we need to support and encourage them because the North has no voice. And hence, people tell our stories in the way they do it, and of course they frame the story as it is, and there is lack of professionalism. I've had instances, I think even Ali Tonko, we discussed this thing some time ago, when on prime time television and radio programs, you wonder the kind of people that are guests on such programs. Instead of them to propose solutions, they are inflaming issues. And so basically, that is it. Then most importantly, we talk about security challenges without taking into cognizance that it is a collective responsibility. Each component of Nigerian society has a role to play. And I'm so glad that the keynote speaker has made reference to the issue of our traditional institutions and of course time-tested conflict resolution mechanism. Look at what happened. Big as Sultan of Sokoto is, under normal circumstances, he cannot venture out of his emirate without the consent of the chairman of Sokoto local government. But in the night, they will go and visit him and say all sorts of things. And I think we need to come back to that. Then most importantly, we need to also mobilize the Nigerian society as it is, so that each and every one of us has a role to play. Take for instance, professional groups, National Union of Road Transport Workers. What is their relationship? What is their relationship with the DSS, with the police and all the rest? Because they do see things. Even the Uber drivers and other professional groups, because I have seen them, because they are the kind of gum that, stitch Nigerian society together, because it cut across extraneous variables of religion and ethnicity. But everybody is more or less on his own, just like the provincial Hausa, Zaman and Marana, everybody. And unless you galvanize the Nigerian society, you cannot be able to have a fair understanding of the problem and move the society forward, because we will be working across purposes. Because that is, even at the governance level again, there is that kind of lack of cohesion. Because we have had instances, take for instance now, and I'm so happy Yahuza has made reference to this issue of sulhu or no sulhu. Even before it, we have divergent voices among the northwestern states, because up to now, how many states do we have? 7. But I can rest assure you there are no 3 or 4 state governors that are on the same page when it comes to dealing with these security challenges. And unless there is total understanding among themselves, because there is no way Zamfara State or Kebbi State will do it alone without support from Sokoto, Zamfara, Niger, and Kaduna and other states. Basically, that is it. So I don't know how we will do it. And thankfully, the keynote speaker was a chairman of Arewa Consultative Forum's Special Security Committee. For months we sat down, and thankfully the Ajan Gondu is also a member of that committee. We did extensive work critically evaluating the northern Nigeria as it were. Everything you can think of, and we had a blueprint given, immediate long-time plans. But what happened? Up to now, I think the report has not even been presented to the state governors who are supposed to sit down. And I can rest assure you, I think it was unpalatable, because when we are presenting the report in Kaduna, somebody was saying when we are talking about northern Nigeria being the poverty capital of Nigeria, somebody stood up and said that we were being uncharitable. We said no, the committee only held a mirror. And if you don't like what you see, so you go and change. So we have been good at talking, but at the end of it, no action. We have never been, good at implementing issues. The case in point is, judge the contents of this hall at 11 o'clock in the morning. And now it's 10 minutes after 5. You can see the number. I think it's less than 50%. And bulk of the people that really are supposed to take decision or policy, issues are not there. And it has always been like that. So we need to be serious about these issues. It is not just about talking. We have had enough of talking. And we know what to do. But we have to muster the courage to have the political will to do that. And of course, definitely we cannot do that unless we interrogate some of these issues that are, at the bottom of all this problem. The issue of leadership recruitment system. in this country. What is the leadership recruitment system? We know how it is. Yes, we are running a democratic government, but yes, it's cost capital intensive, but we can do better in the sense that we have two things that other people do not have. We have religion, we are very good Muslims and Christians, and we have cultures and tradition. And no culture has, condoned any bad thing like stealing or injustice. And yet, we are not doing it. So how do we go about doing all these things? So basically, mine was just to interrogate all these things to further agitate our mind and let us have a change of mindset that beyond this talking, what is it that in my own level, in my own capacity as an individual or whatever, I will make an impact, that I will make the difference. Either you are in the media, or you are in governance, or you are a businessman, or even as a parent. These are the issues that we have to be interrogating. And I would like to stop here, even though you gave me 10 minutes. I think I've exhausted the 10 minutes, even if it is not. Hence, I've seen Professor Tahir is standing, so come and I donated the remaining minutes to you. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Please, another big round of applause for General Kuka Sheke. Thank you so very much. We've listened to the paper presenter, Professor Omar Pate. We've listened to all the listed presenters, including, happily, our presenter in Switzerland, and a lot has been put on the table. I've been requested by the organizers that there is somebody that we may need to give an opportunity and hear from him. Is Professor Tukur Baba, who I understand is representing Walin Duze, the Chairman Board of Trustees of the Arewa Consultative Forum. So please, you are welcome. And
Jamal, assalamu alaikum. I am a member of the Arewa Broadcast Media Practitioners. Like I said yesterday, I have been a friend of the media since 1981, very closely, beginning with NTA Sokoto and going further to many media. But today, I'm here to represent Alhaji Bashir Alhatu Walin Dusi, who is the chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Arewa Consultative Forum. When I told him about the summit and the organizers, he was elated, principally because, one, he is the chairman of the board of the ACF at this very, very critical time in the history of northern Nigeria and the history of Nigeria. We are facing an existential threat that is probably near the Civil War of 1967-70. Hopefully we'll get out of it. So he asked me to send his solidarity and commendation. And he is very elated. He wants you to know that he is very elated at the idea of the organization. And in the past we have discussed, as everyone knows, radio and especially television patronage is entrenched in the culture of the people of northern Nigeria. I'm sure Professor Jega will remember from our childhood, when radio ownership is from houses, certain houses, and in the evening people will all gather around the radio, listening to, of course, the ubiquitous Radio Nigeria and Radio Television Kaduna, to hear the news, listen to requests, entertainment, extension services by Mala Nomo, who toured the whole of northern Nigeria promoting agriculture and so on. So it's a community thing and it's entrenched in our culture. Whether it is probably the animal herder who carries 3 things into the bush daily: a herding stick, a bottle or a gourd of water, and a radio, carefully managed by a tailor who did this thing. So these three things, they are entrenched. And of course, our people have made use of it. So it's, Alhaji Dalatu said he's very happy and hope we will re-entrench and bring back this culture, because that is the major medium where the typical northern Nigerian is well educated, well informed about world affairs. And of course, government has used this medium. You remember how Radio Nigeria Kaduna was very pivotal in the propaganda and mobilization against the civil war. And after the civil war, the efforts at reconciliation and so on. So this is important. Alhaji Bashir also asked me to remind you that he is also a stakeholder in the activities organization, because he has a large stake in Freedom Radio Kano, taking over from his brother, the late AVM. So he is also interested. And by the way, just about this year, the Arewa Consultative Forum has established an online radio. And we are planning also to have an online TV. The online radio is being test run for now, but there are plans to make it more established and to be able to disseminate news about North and Northern Nigeria 24/7. It's coming online. So, like I said, this meeting is very, very important. And no one should lose sight of it, because, like I said, these are times that will challenge us. Whatever happens, God forbid, if anything happens to Nigeria, Northern Nigeria is in a most vulnerable state. Arwan, my friend Arwan, and others have painted this out. General Dambazo has spoken about it. If something happens and we go on our own, no matter what, with the baggage, things are not going to be good for any of us. Of course, the collapse of Nigeria, everybody will pay. But I think Northern Nigeria will pay more because of the statistics and many more that General Dambazo has pointed out. Arwan has spoken about it, and it's just that we are not ready. So what is to be done? I think this organization should re-examine itself and see how it can champion the views of the North, champion the amelioration of those problems that we have. The need, for example, to declare a state of emergency on basic education. We cannot do without modern education at all. There is a need for emergency. As I was driving yesterday from Sokoto to Birnin Kebbi, I kept wondering. I did not see a single new primary or secondary school along the way until I entered Birnin Kebbi. That worried me a lot. And I was thinking, with all these statistics about lack of basic education, what is happening? I also took note of the broken windows, broken ceilings, and broken doors of the few primary schools I have known 20 years ago. They are still there, no expansion, no new schools. And that bothered me a lot. Is it because there is no patronage? What is happening? And so on. It's frightening. So we need to do something about it. Education, education, education. I remember in 2011, some congressional researchers came and asked me, I was in Sokoto then, what are the 3 things that the Northwest will need and the Americans can help through aid? I said 3 things. And the lady was writing. I said, number 1, education. Number 2, I said education. Number 3, I said education. She dropped her pen and asked, she said 3. I said, these are the 3 things we need. Something that will give us light in our head. We can manage the rest. We can manage ourselves once we are educated. And so on. She dropped the pen and said, nobody has ever spoken to her like that. That was true. And so on. That will take care of not only the problem of religious extremism, because I told her that we are more concerned with rituals rather than the philosophy of religion itself, as General Kukasheka pointed out. It's more ritual, but we need to go to the philosophy. Let it get into our minds and so on. So I think what, I don't want to speak for too long, I'm tempted. Lastly, I will say this task before us is for massive enlightenment and public education for our people. And I will urge every TV station, every radio station, I charge you to dedicate 15 minutes a day. Give 5 minutes of talk on things that worry our people as a public service, free of charge. I think we can afford it so that it will help our people find our feet. Finally, again, I send congratulations to this organization, but this is the beginning. You need to do more. You have done this, it can be done again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Tukuru Baba, for ably representing Walendus A and Chairman of the Board of Trustees of Arewa Consultative Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, you've all listened to the panel presentations, first by the paper presenter, and then subsequently by the lined up discussants. A lot, as I said earlier on, has been put on the table. Many constructive suggestions, very honest and sincere opinions about what needs to be done, while acknowledging that we have an existential threat and the efforts have been made to address it, but there is a lot more that needs to be done. And therefore, we have to constantly keep drawing attention of government to its responsibilities, and indeed drawing attention of all ranges of stakeholders to their responsibilities. But as the focus of the panel discussion was on media and security, we've listened to an excellent articulation of the importance of communication. If you do not communicate well, you create misrepresentation, you may even create misunderstanding that can lead to chaos and crisis. There is quite often the tendency also to manipulate communication to serve particularistic interests. And in this regard, we have seen it in open display, where the insurgents try to communicate with communities that they overrun and to try to win their minds and hearts. So it's very, very important we also deploy communication appropriately. Our media is susceptible to doing good, but it is also susceptible to being misused. And in the fight against insurgency, we need the media to be alive to its responsibilities in terms of professionalism, in terms of ethical conduct, and in terms of knowing that the way and manner in which they deploy communication would make meaning in terms of if it is positive, it can help again in the direction of the fight against insurgency and criminality, and if they use it negatively, then it will make the fight against criminality and the insurgency very, very difficult indeed. So I think we are all being called upon to be alive to our responsibilities, and in particular, of course, tell truth to power, you know, but also be responsible in the way in which you respond to government, to community needs, and so on. I think one big challenge relates to how, if you do not use the media appropriately, you can help spread fear and panic. And of course, when this happens, it serves the interest of the insurgents and the terrorists or even the criminals. And also, if you do not avoid compromising intelligence by just thinking that you have a scoop and you provide whatever information without sensitivity, then obviously you also help the cause, regrettably, of the insurgents. So these are things that really responsible media, alive to its ethical and professional conduct, needs to take into account to constructively assist the fight against insurgency. We have spent time very well, but we are running out of time. The normal thing is to allow 1 or 2 people from the floor. So if there is anybody who feels very strongly that there is something that has not been said, that he or she thinks that we will lose a lot if we leave here without listening to him or her, please indicate by raising your hand, and then I will give you an opportunity. One minute. Okay, yes, 1 minute here. Or question. Primarily question, but you can comment. But only 1 minute. So you choose whether you are going to ask a question or make a comment. All right, I will look back.
My name is Muhammad Ibrahim Gamawa. I'm a publisher of a newspaper, also a newspaper called The Lalia. I want to ask a question, or I want to give a suggestion. I think our contribution is better than the question I wanted to ask. One, almost every speaker has skipped the right thing to stop the insurgency. The most important thing that we are going to observe here is our democracy, the success of our democracy for 20-something years. Why? Because the other democracies did not last long. Why now? Now the democracy succeeded because a role was not specifically, the military was not given a role to play under democracy. We were in a hurry to go. Let the military go, let the military go. But now they are out on the street. You can see the contribution of Mr. Geso, Dr. Geso. He told us how the military was aiding and abetting the crimes. Our father here, with due respect, sir, the Major General, when Shagari took over and left the military in barracks without any specific role, either than to be in the barracks and play draft and the rest, then an idle mind is a devil workshop. They think of destroying the democracy. They took over. And it took them 50 years after pressure and another pressure for them to hand over. And yet when we took over, I thought the civilians will think of way of barricading the military within the barracks. Somebody was busy telling us when Buhari comes out, I said, no, Buhari would like to. He was the number one beneficiary of the coup that took over from Shagari or destroyed Shagari's government. So up to now, the civilians did not think of the way to keep the military in the barracks. Now they are here, they aid, they abet, they do every crime. If you listen to House of Service Boys of America, sometimes a corporal will tell you, or even a will tell you, look, we saw them. While we were going, our commander called us back. Say we should not go further. So ladies and gentlemen, we have to look at this. In as much as there is no specific role for the military to play without coming into the system, then I'm sorry, we are not going to see the end of this thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. I will take one more from here and then move here. Yes, please. Please, 1 minute. 1 minute. We'll come back. Yes,
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Bashar Kengiwa, and I have many questions, but I'll ask one, which us among youngsters within the age of 30, we always talk about, is how do we choose the right leaders? Because when you look at all the panelists talk about the insecurity goes back to good governance and leadership. How do we choose good leaders? If maybe among the panelists can educate us on the right leadership. And the reason why I ask this question is we always talk about leadership, and we see single individuals which we believe are very good, but when they go into this political cycle, they couldn't do anything because they have to go as a team. So we are praying that one day we will see somebody who will stand up and create a good team of leadership or leaders to go into political space and bring change, positive change to Nigeria. So that is our question, sir.
Thank you, Bashar. Excellent question. I will take the lady here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Medina Zaki from Politics and Business TV, Abuja. I just want to ask, has democracy worked for us for the past 25 years? What we have are more killings, more resources destructions, more resources stealing, and we have a docile and very emotional citizens who don't even question their leaders. What you see during campaign are uniform crowds shouting and dancing, and they listen less to what the person has to say. Shouldn't we begin to look for a system of governance that fit into our peculiarities, not this democracy that is driven by crude capitalism and the quest for resources? Take it or leave it, everybody is involved, and if we continue this way, we're not going to get anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Yes, okay.
My name is Abu Shekara. I am a private broadcast content producer. My observation is this: throughout the presentations on media, my concern is media and security, and the role of media, particularly the concern that has been shown about what the social media are doing, and the fact that the social media are populated by people who are not guided by ethics and professional rules and regulations. Now, I think what can be done here, not to deny the existence or not to negate the social media. They are a reality. They are just like the Gutenberg press when it replaced the other old systems of writing. I think what ought to be done is from the level of training in universities and institutions of journalism and mass communication to train and to groom young people to go into publishing and broadcasting on social media, so that even the social media will be populated by professionals who have been trained in ethics of the practice and in the sense of responsibility for this practice, so that they will populate the scene and then outshine and drown the voices of these charlatans that claim to be media people and they are not. I think that's the way out.
Thank you so very much for that contribution. I will come back here. I will give the last opportunity to...
I have a question for particularly Honorable Samuel Arewa. I listened very, very attentively to his intervention. He made an assertion, and because he was a former commissioner in Kaduna State, one will have to believe him very, very well because his assertion was empirical. And let me just recap. He said the problem with, there is a constitutional lacuna, if you like, with respect to reporting security or posting security reports to the executive governors.
only an executive governor the DSS will send a security report to. A situation where the governor is never in the state capital, he's in Abuja. Those reports will rot away and the challenges of insecurity will continue to exacerbate. So, and I said, why don't we now go back and use the social media, or if you like, advance to where we are now, because the social media is there for us. Why wouldn't we recommend here that the DSS should also resort to sending soft copies to executive governors so that wherever they are, they will get this report, not just the hard copy. And I said, I want to put it that to him, whether he thinks that is an answer. And the second question is still to him again. He had worked with Nasir El-Rufai, and everybody knows Nasir El-Rufai to also be a very mobile governor. But at the same time, he was tech savvy in the sense that he was always well informed. How did they do it during that time, and what can he recommend to the other 18 governors of the North? That is my question. But before he answers that, I want to very quickly just make this announcement in my position as the Master of Ceremony before we close this session, sir. Yes, sir. I've been directed to make this following announcements. With respect to tomorrow's session, you are aware that in the morning we were certainly more than this, so we are afraid of the attendance of tomorrow. And we want to very quickly implore all of you to please talk to others who are not here. And I remember even the executive governor of Kebbi did announce that all his commissioners should remain with us. Whether they are still here, I cannot see any of them or most of them. Oh, beautiful. I understand only 2 are here. Certainly that will not be the population of the Executive Council. But all the same, give them a very big round of applause because some are here. Yes, I am directed to say that tomorrow we will have breakfast, and immediately after breakfast, all delegates will be ready to join the Executive Governor, His Excellency Dr. Nasser Idris Aurangwandu, for a guided tour of legacy projects. You are aware he has put in almost 2 years on the saddle, and we are all aware of the laudable projects and programs he has been able to execute. He has he's going to make himself at our disposal, and he will lead us to a guided tour of legacy projects. We expect to finish that tour at about lunchtime at 1 o'clock, and by 2 o'clock, between 2 and 4, here in this hall, there will be a media party with the host being His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kebbi State. And this media party will be anchored by no other person but a member of the Board of Trustees of the Arewa Broadcast Media Owners Forum, in person of Alhaji Shuaibu Mungadi. This media party will be for 2 hours, from 2 to 4 p.m. And then at 8 p.m., we are going to have a dinner, still here at the Presidential Banquet Hall, an award night. I've been directed to announce that most of the awardees are here. Those of them who are not here, please inform them that the award ceremony is tomorrow night. And at this point, I will hand over to my boss, Professor Jiga, to continue with the session. Please, thank you so much for this.
All right, thank you very much. I crave your indulgence. We will come back to the panelists just one minute to answer the questions that have been raised. I will start from my right to my left.
Well, thank you very much. Let me start with one of the respondents who was talking about the role. Okay. Well, the issue of handling security reports to the government, I want to make it very clear that I have worked with 2 governors in Kaduna State, and I am not making my case to Kaduna State in particular. I have the privilege to have been part and parcel of issues related to banditry in the Northwest, working with the entire governors at a time. And beyond that, being the pioneer Commissioner of Internal Security and Home Affairs, I am part of those that draw the organogram or structures for other states that establish a ministry dedicated to security. So what I'm saying is generally, it is not a constitutional provision about handling security reports to governors, but governors, by the Constitution, are the chief security officers of their states. And Commissioner of Police, Director of DSS, either Brigade Commander or General Officer Commanding or Air Officer Commanding, will not hand over security reports with any other person in the state government except the governors. So, and in a situation where there is no absolute transmission of power from the governor to the State House of Assembly, transmitting power to the deputy governor, there is nowhere the Commissioner of Police or Director of DSS will hand over daily security report to the governors. But in my own case in Kaduna, because we have a cordial relationship between Kaduna State Government and security agencies, don't quote me, but I'm saying this, virtually information that will go to the governor, because I am also involved in intelligence gathering across the state. Definitely I am aware. I'll give one example. On the 30th of April 2023, barely few days to the end of the second tenure of Governor Nasser Ahmed El-Rufai, I just got to Abuja. On reaching Abuja, I got a call from Benungwari, from Kuyelo in particular, informing me the presence of bandits who were attacking Kuyelo at that point in time. I don't need to resort to the governor because we have a system that was functional. From Abuja, where I got this information, what did I do? I quickly called the Air Force and said, Wing Commander Batugo, I have just received a distress call from Kuyelo. He scrambled the aircraft and just moved to the location. After 1 hour, I got what we call operational feedback with visual, which I saw clearly how the operation went on. But in many cases, or in this case, we have situations where governors are not even aware of what is happening in their state. They spend a lot of time in Abuja, or you have a serious security issues that demand governor's attention. Governor is nowhere to be found. And that is why I was saying that security is not priority for most of our governors. It has just become a necessity. It is a vehicle through which they can use to consolidate their power. But the mindset is not there. It has just become an inevitable. It is a vehicle to assume power. Now, how do we do it? We do so many things. You will have been hearing of a lot of issues about genocide in southern Kaduna and what have you. But because we are documenting security, because we are giving updates about what was happening, no matter what you will do, the facts are there. I will give one example of what happened in Zambon-Kataf local government. One night, around 1 a.m., we received a distress call that bandits have killed a district head in Gidanzaki in Zambon-Kataf local government. He was killed around 1 a.m. along with his child. And we knew, if we don't break this news, if we allow others to break the news, there will be a problem. We will not be able to control that very news. By 4 a.m., I have written our story, saying that with sadness, we want to report that bandit yesterday did this, somewhere. By 4 a.m., I have issued the statement. So we are going ahead of those that will misrepresent what we are doing. So whatever that happens during our time in Kaduna, during Nasser Ahmed El-Rufai's tenure, we were doing a lot of intelligence gathering. We were selling intelligence, like News Agency of Nigeria was selling news to newspapers. We will send information to DSS, send information to the military well ahead of time. At times, most of the DSS reports that will come are usually 72 or 74 hours late to what we have, because our network was very vast. From every district, we break it down to Dagachi level, to Meungwa. Even in hotels, we have prostitutes that we are engaging in supplying us intelligence. And finally, we did something that make us to be on top of our game. Most of you knows Golungora in Chukun local government. Golungora is strategically located on the Kaduna-Abuja road. That was where Major Ibrahim Abdullahi was killed during the second crisis. Yes. Around Golungora axis. That is where he was killed during the 2000 Sharia crisis. So what we did, virtually the hot-headed guys in Golungora, we profile everybody. The hot-headed guys in Marabanjos, we profile everybody. We did the same thing in Bakiwa. We have your name, we have your numbers, we have your details. We did the same thing with Maso Ungwani, the Saurasu. We signed an agreement with you. We said, if there is a problem here, we'll hold you liable. And they were not aware that we were dealing with some of them differently, apart from the groupings that we were doing. And if there's a problem, somebody will call us to inform us that you go, so we did a lot. This is how we operate. Wherever the governor was at that time, we were on toes. I can bet you that I was not sleeping. We were always busy. We were always responding to emergencies. Thank you very much. No, there was. We were transmitting information. Well, what I would recommend is, in your community or in recommendation, governors must make security a top priority, beyond rhetorics, beyond statement, beyond saying we are on top of the situation, we are engaging stakeholders, we are doing this and that. They must practicalize it. You have to practicalize it, because it's not something that is shown. If you engage commissioners of police or intelligence officers on the ground, what they will tell you, Prof, you will weep for our system. Thank you.
Thank you, General.
Oh, Samuel, I will tell you a lie. You have changed the definition of 1 minute. Yes, thank you very much, sir. First thing first. Gama, I was so surprised that you said that the military has no role. I was so surprised that, they have no responsibility. Maybe I'm not hearing right. Specific role. So I'm coming to that. I am conscious of what I have taken note. What I'm trying to say here is that maybe you did not look at section 217 and 218 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. I'm not a lawyer, but it is explicit about the establishment, core duties, and which is basically defending Nigeria's from external aggression, then maintaining territorial integrity, then containing internal instructions, and come in aid of civil authority. Now, possibly you will be talking about why is the military being deployed for policing duty. And I made mention of the fact that you can trace all our insecurity based on one thing: neglect of our policing system. But of course, even the policing system, I made mention of the issue of impediment. I started with the legal framework. And anytime you are interrogating a policy, legal framework. Because imagine yourself being the Inspector General of Police, you are still in lieu edit, you don't have power to discipline, appoint, or promote a commissioner of police. In fact, the Police Service Commission, Police Service Commission has the power to transfer, appoint, recruit, discipline all police officers less the Inspector General of Police. So, and I made reference to Police Council. Police Council is a provision of the Constitution. It has no say. at least once or twice to consider the appointment of IGP. So basically, these are the problems. And we should be mindful of the choice of what. You said they should change the military. But you should know that military is an important institution in this country, that is a symbol of national power. Of course, you demonstrated. And we are talking about responsible reporting and context and non-violent communication. By the time you say cage, it looks like an animal. So, basically, yes, how do we choose right or good leaders? I think once you are 30 years old, so automatically you are a graduate. I don't know what you read. Political science, I suppose. History. Definitely you must have known what are the indices of being a good leader and how you go about doing it, because you must have taken elective courses. To me, that's my own understanding. Yes, as democracy worked for us in Nigeria, I'm not in the right position to answer this question. Maybe somebody should. Thank God we have mobile encyclopedia when it comes to political science in Nigeria and the world, Professor Jega. Possibly you should. I quite agree with you in respect of social media. And it's quite a pity Professor Pate has to leave. You know, mass communication in those days was all encompassing, but it has been unbundled. Now you have 7 degrees. And unfortunately, when they did the unbundling, it has not taken into cognizance of the emerging technology in the information and communication technology sphere. Now, when we are talking about AI and all the rest, suddenly we have, we are talking about the internet and all the rest of the thing, suddenly we have AI. So it's an evolving thing. And then the issue of interest comes into play. Because sometimes, I'm so sure when you went to read history, possibly you wanted to read medicine or something like that. And so it's a combination of so many. I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to somebody behind you. Come on. So really, we should show interest because it's evolving thing. In fact, some time ago when they talked about, the value system with this emerging technology is unprecedented. And thankfully, AGIA, when we had this publicity committee, the Arewa Consultative Forum, what did we get about Nigerian youth, especially of northern extractions? The multi-billionaires, in fact, they have crossed into trillionaires, but what is it? Most of them, they are into this social media of a thing. So it's the in thing. So I would rather encourage all that. Samuel has talked about Kudu. And Kudu, by the way, typical of you, you took and do advantage of asking questions and you want to justify your fee as MC, you decided to be making announcement. God bless you. So I have the last say for you.
Thank you very much. Next is Geso, but be very brief, please.
I want to follow up with all of us that Nigeria's future is in bleak. However, the issues and challenges we have in Nigeria are manageable. We have the capacity, we have the ability, and we can mobilize the personnel if we are really sincere and honest. Assuming that our recruitment process is, leadership recruitment process is using the polling unit, the political word, and so on. We can recruit the youth between the age of 15 or 17 to the age of 22 to 25. At least we can recruit 150 per polling unit. If you have 10 polling units in the political ward, 150 times 10 will give you 1,500. When you multiply the number times the total number you have in the local government, you will have a huge number of youth that can be able to join, to be distributed into police, into army, air force, and the rest of them, build their capacity, engage them either as military volunteers or police volunteers, or you build their capacity to understand basic things and give them basic training under the monitoring and supervision of the security agencies around the area, and you will see one day you can be able to manage the situation. Yes, of course, we have issues of leadership, but I am employing everybody not to be discouraged, but we should have it at the back of our mind that the number of arms, I have said it to the highest level of the security management meeting in the country. I had a privilege to be invited to a highest level of intelligence team, and I told them, my fear is the number of arms that are going into the wrong hands. The speed, if care is not taken, in the next 2 years, it is going to be more than the total number of arms in our armories. Because people are really buying arms, and it's very, very dangerous and very wrong. Nigeria must sit up to its responsibility to do the needful. I am still following up with Kebbi State government and the northern Nigeria that the crimes of ideology and the crimes and other criminal activities are really far expanding, and we need to do more. We need to sit up to our responsibility. And for electorate, the question you ask, it is the conscious, Mr. Historian. Yes, you should talk to your conscious, I should talk to my conscious, and everybody's conscious must change. Issues of fixing Nigeria is the responsibility of all. All hands must be on deck. Media are doing their best. Keep doing your best. I'm sure we will reach the promised gate. But not until and unless you ask yourself, what is the conscience? It is very clear and glaring that our governors and those who we elected doesn't have anything conscious in their mind as far as the future of Nigeria is concerned. If you know, I'm reminding you. If you don't know, quote me everywhere. I said it and I say I have evidence. From the president to the councillors, they don't have anything conscious as far as Nigeria is concerned. They don't have it. Talk less of the governors who are always busy. A governor will be in Abuja, a security meeting will be invited, but because it doesn't involve monetary or things like that, he will invite the deputy governor from the state to come and attend the meeting. He's not doing anything but interviewing the politician. This one will go in, will go out. He doesn't care what matters. People are being killed on daily basis. People are being killed on daily basis. We know the criminals, we know who they are, we know where they are, and in the case of North West and North Central, and some part of North East, they have identity. Why can't the governor of Kebbi, Sokoto, Katsina, and others employ what Bala Mohammed is doing in Bauchi? Because what Bala is doing in Bauchi, if at all Zamfara state government will do the same, within 3 days there will be no kidnapper. I want to tell you this. The calamity is the level of dangers in Bauchi, if not because of the governor is really serious. And if Zamfara state and Katsina state will go for study tour and study really what Bala Mohammed is doing, in less than 7 days there will be declaration. You cannot see anything bandit. But because of lack of sincerity and honesty, Bala may have his own weaknesses too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think he is becoming charged. We may have to go into another session into the night. So thank you so very much. I think just 1 minute. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to contribute to the answer to the question of right leadership. I think I want to suggest that this organization, the Arewa broadcast media practitioners, should take the lead. The problem has been entrenched and is getting worse by the day. But I think through your activities you can promote to educate the voters to pay attention to the